Hello and welcome to the programme which looks at the Holy Land. I am Paul Calvert. Psalm 83 verse 1 from the New King James Bible says this: Do not keep silent, O God. Do not hold your peace, and do not be still, O God. I'm with Galya and Venera from Christian Friends of Israel. Now, Galya, you've been up to the north visiting the Druze community. Tell us what you've been doing there.
Paul, it's nice to see you. Thank you for being with us. Yeah, my husband Tristan and I and our family, we spent some time in the north recently just for a bit of a holiday, and we decided to travel up to the Golan Heights to two Druze communities. Firstly, Majdal Shams, and secondly, Misada, which is right next to Majdal Shams. These are two very beautiful Druze communities in the very picturesque Golan Heights, very close to the border with Syria. And why did we go there? We didn't take a wrong turn. We went there deliberately because we wanted to speak to some of the Druze people. Because the Druze, as you know, in Syria, in southern Syria, the community of Sweda, suffered the most horrific massacre at the end of July at the hands of Islamist rebels and terrorists from the Jolani government. And it's absolutely just shocking to read about and to hear about what's been going on with the Druze in Syria. And the Druze in the Golan Heights, I mean, they have family in Syria. They have friends. They have relatives. And they are an absolutely broken people. Their spirits are feeling very crushed right now. And we wanted to go and we wanted to just show some support and some love and tell them that, you know, we are a Christian family and that we've traveled up from Jerusalem to come and eat in their restaurants, to come and drink coffee with them, and to tell them that even though the world is silent, while their people are being brutally massacred and slaughtered, that we see and that we care and that we speak up against it and that we want to support them and show them love. And that's what we did.
How did they respond to that?
They responded with hugs. They responded with tears. They responded also with almost shocked silence because all they've seen, if I'm correct, are close on 1,400 Druze in Syria were brutally slaughtered and murdered in the most unspeakable ways. And while this was going on, while people were being beheaded, while Druze were being murdered, executed, while children were being killed, while Druze women were being raped and kidnapped. While this was going on, they saw global silence. They didn't see people in New York or Paris or London take to the streets with the Druze flag. They never saw that. Even now, there remains a blockade of aid entering Sweda to support the Druze that are still suffering. There remains a blockade in place where medical supplies and food, the Syrian government forces are preventing it from entering Sweda and reaching the Druze. And they don't see protests. They don't see social media ablaze with people calling for an end to this. They were shocked at the global silence. So when they saw us, this family, coming to hug them and to cry with them and to talk to them and to offer words of comfort and support and to validate their trauma, they were deeply, deeply moved. They thanked us. We sat together. We spent a long time with a few different families that we met. And I'm so thankful to the Lord that we went and that we had the opportunity to speak words of life and hope to these precious people.
Did they want to cross the border and actually defend their brothers and sisters?
Yeah, they did. I think many people may have seen on the news that many of the Druze in Israel, the Israeli Druze, were trying and successfully did cross the border, you know. And you can imagine this adrenaline that they must have felt, like just wanting to get to their family members to help them. Obviously, Sweda, it's not very close to the Israeli-Syrian border near Majdal Shams. And it was also very dangerous for them. And I know the Israeli army pleaded with them, said, please, don't do this. You know, you risk getting kidnapped or killed yourselves. You know, let us, the IDF, we are going to support your brothers and sisters in Sweda. And as you know, the Israeli army did just that. The IDF did many strikes to try and prevent and thwart this massacre and support the Druze. But yeah, and I think, you know, you can understand the hopelessness and the helplessness that they felt. They just wanted to help their loved ones.
Now, you've also been to Malé Yousef and met the mayor there. What happened in that community there?
So yeah, we recently traveled up to Maale Yosef, which is again a very beautiful part. But this time, this is not the Golan Heights. This is the other side, the northern part of Israel that borders with Lebanon. And we visited 2 communities, both of which were evacuated about a year and a half ago due to the war with Hezbollah, due to the intense rocket and missile fire from Hezbollah into Israeli territory. We even saw a home where a missile entered one side of the property and exited on the other, went right through the house. And you can see where it went in and where it left. Complete and utter destruction and devastation. But it was also the place of a miracle because the husband, the father, was home at the time, but just happened to be downstairs and somehow survived. But yes, these communities, very beautiful agricultural communities, have been evacuated for a long time, and in the last couple of months have been trying to move home, but have found they've come home to homes that are totally destroyed, either because of the rockets or because of, wildlife or rats or just decay. And so CFI, Christian Friends of Israel, we've been very active in supporting these communities to help the families return home, to provide them with electrical appliances or whatever they may need to set up home again. We were welcomed by the mayor of Maale Yosef. We had a wonderful meeting with him, and we were able to meet some of the families we've supported and just again show them that there's Christians all over the world that are praying for them, that support them, that support their right to be in their land and to thrive and blossom in their land. They have a very long road ahead of them. There's a lot of destruction up there. They're like little ghost towns, and it's very sad to see, and it's going to take a long time to rebuild. Also, I'm sure you can appreciate some families are too fearful to come home, and so there is a move to see more and more people coming to live in these yeshuvs and these communities, and that they can blossom again.
This is why it's very important to build that relationship and so for them to see the love of Christ through the work that you're doing, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's very important. It's all about relationship, and it's about consistency in relationship. It's about faithfulness in relationship. And it's not just about making the big trips to see the mayor and providing, a lot of money worth of appliances to the families. It's more than that. It's about the WhatsApp messages to the people we've met, asking them how they are, asking them if they're okay, how they're feeling, how can we pray for them. It's about visiting them in the hotels when they were displaced for a year and a half. Yes, providing them with practical needs, but also just sitting together, drinking a coffee together, not even talking, just listening, just being there for them, being friends. That's the whole point of why we do what we do at Christian Friends of Israel, is to be friends that love and friends that comfort and friends that offer support unconditionally, just like Ruth did to Naomi. We want to be friends, and we want to love Israel and the Jewish people in the spirit of Ruth.
At the moment, do the Druze community feel an affinity with the Christian community? Because also the Christian community was going through a terrible time in Syria as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Both the Druze and the Christian communities in Syria, and I'm speaking specifically about southern Syria right now, these are minority groups that have been suffering the most awful persecution and the most awful violence and aggression against them. And, Venera can speak more into that, but she spent quite a lot of time with the Druze over the last year. But I would like to just say that a lot of people are not familiar with who the Druze are. And it's important to say that they are a very significant and important part of Israeli community. Like the Israeli Druze are very loyal to the state of Israel. They identify as Israeli. They serve in the Israeli army. Even, do you remember when the Israelis in, I think it was in Amsterdam, were attacked after that soccer match, and they were being chased through the streets, brutally beaten up? And it was actually an Israeli Druze who understood what was going on and who went up to the attackers and spoke to them in Arabic and told them the Israelis had gone that way, but actually they had gone the other way. He protected them. And the Druze are a very significant, very important part of Israeli society. They are an Arab monotheistic group with an Abrahamic faith. They have their own tenets of their religion. They have their roots in Islam, but they are not considered Muslim. So they're quite a unique people group that are maybe sometimes misunderstood. But in Syria, they are a minority at risk. We've seen an actual attempted genocide against the Druze in southern Syria, where the Islamist regime forces of al-Jolani are on record, on video, saying that they want to go in and cleanse these areas of the Druze. That is genocide, a determined effort to deliberately cleanse and remove a people group. However, in Israel, the Druze live good lives. You know, they're proud Israeli citizens, and they are protected by the Israeli government. And that is a stark difference.
So, Venera, you've been to Majdal Shams, been going up there and visiting there over the past year. What happened there? Remind us what happened there.
On July 27, 2024, 12 children were killed in Majdal Shams in the soccer field, and by rocket from Hezbollah. And so for a year, the Majdal Shams has been grieving the loss of the children. They call them 12 stars.
And it's just been the anniversary. Did you go up there specifically because it was the anniversary of that event?
Yes, I wanted to be with the families. I build relationships with the parents. So I want to be there, just hug them and comfort them and tell them we Christians love them, we're praying for them. So I felt like I needed to be there.
Must be very sad because these are families that have lost a child. So it must be is it difficult to actually comfort them at this time?
Yes, but they're very open. They're still in pain. But they're open. One family especially, they lost 2 children, or actually a child and a cousin. So I saw the father, and so he still looks very sad. Some families, like you could see they're overcome but still grieving. Some don't. It's like happened yesterday. And
of course, when the rocket actually hit, some people were just wiped out. There was not even a body, was there?
There was just one child, Jivara. I have a good relationship with his father. His name is Abraham. And Jivara was completely disintegrated. He was gone. They looked for him for 2 days. And I think they find some sock or shoe. And so Jivara is a very special boy.
And that must be very hard for the family as well, when you actually don't physically have a body to actually bury.
So in Jivara's home, I went a couple of times to visit. It's just like they wanted to see, like, Jivara's been, like, there's pictures of him. You see, like, jerseys, like shoes, like Jivara's there, but he's not there. Because they want to see something, because Jivara's completely gone.
What did they do to commemorate this time a year ago?
They had a ceremony. I didn't stay for ceremony Sunday. There was a huge ceremony. And I believe there's a lot of Israelis went there for the ceremony to support Druze, the community.
Did they share stories with you about their children?
Or I almost visit 11 families, so I know the stories. But, it was just good to see them. They were happy to see me. And we had tea together. We talked. It was wonderful. There was a lot of people there because there was preparation for ceremony.
How have you been able to help this community?
Encouraging them, praying for them, just encourage them, praying for them. Flowers, sweets. Yeah.
What is your prayer for them at this time?
Continue comfort to overcome, but they feel double pain now because of situation in Syria and Sweden. They feel very injustice, so they have a lot of family members there. So they feel like double pain for Syria and pain for the lost. There's something that special happened. My friend Handa, she lives right in the downtown of Majdal Shams. She took me to a fence that separates Syria and Majdal Shams, Israel. And we saw a lot of IDF there. And I wanted to pray for peace and for the war to end and for Druze and Syrians and Christians in Syria for their protection. And we saw the fence was open, the gate was open, but it was not open for the Druze to go check on the families. It was open for ambulance because there was Israeli ambulance coming from Syria. And then we find out later there was a girl, she lost all her family and she hid in the closet. They shot her in the back. And she hid in the closet, and someone contacted Israel, and IDEA went and took that girl. She's right now being treated in Israel. Wow. And I felt that was very special. The Lord wanted us to see that.
Galya, what is your prayer for the Druze community and the Christian community in the north of Israel and in Syria?
So I think it's very important to talk about this topic, to talk about the Druze, to talk about the minority groups in Syria, but particularly to talk about the Druze. And I'm glad that we're doing this interview and that we're hopefully highlighting one of the most shocking atrocities that that the world has seen. What has happened to the Druze in Syria over the last few weeks is like the October 7th for the Druze. Okay, people are not talking about it. I'm not seeing it all over my social media feed. I'm not seeing massive protests and rallies around the world. And it's important that we call out this hypocrisy of the West, that we call out the selective moral outrage by these, woke leftist people that they only seem to protest certain things and forget about the others. There's no protests for the Druze. There's no protests for the Christians in Nigeria who are being massacred every second day. There's no protests about the actual starvation and famine that takes place and is taking place in Yemen. Nobody talks about it. Why? Why is there selective outrage always against Israel? And it needs to be called out. And by the way, the Druze that Venera spends time with, the Druze people that I've met and speak to, they ask this question: why does nobody care? And so I ask this question as well: why does nobody care? But we do care. Christian Friends of Israel, we care. We care about the Druze. We care about the Christians that are being persecuted and murdered. And we do. We pray for them. We pray all the time for our fellow believers in Syria. And we also pray for the Druze. We pray that they would experience that peace that the Lord spoke about. Remember, he said that he gives peace, not the way this world gives it. It's his peace. It's something supernatural. It's something that can cast out all fear. It's something that can penetrate people's hearts and allow them to heal. And this is our prayer. This is what we pray. We pray that the Prince of Peace would visit all these broken communities and that they would experience a touch from the King of the universe, that he would visit with them, and that they would experience freedom, they would experience healing, they would experience life, and life more abundantly.
Yes, and they have a lot of need.
So has CFI been able to help the Druze in Syria?
So, Paul, as you know, the mandate of Christian Friends of Israel is that we are here to be a support and a comfort to the people of Israel. So we have been able to provide different types of financial and practical aid to the Druze, Israeli Druze, particularly in Majdal Shams. And we were contacted by some of our friends in Majdal Shams and told us that actually they were able to use some of the aid that we had given with the help actually of the IDF. And that aid was carried over to their relatives in Syria, in southern Syria, who have been enduring such a hard time. And we were just amazed by that, indirectly we were able to actually support these communities with some practical things that they needed through the efforts of the IDF and the community of Majdal Shams.
What's your website for people who'd like to know more about the work that you do?
Yeah, please do follow Christian Friends of Israel, www.cfijerusalem.org, all small letters. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, also on our YouTube channel. And you can see all the different types of outreaches, the way CFI, with God's help, is having an impact in all different parts of Israeli society, just loving in the spirit of Ruth.
Well, Galya and Venera, thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for joining us today. Pray that God will move by his mighty power in the Holy Land and bring his peace.